Welcome to the Present and Sober podcast with your hosts, Sam Goldfinch and Ellie Crowe. If you want to make your life bigger, not smaller, then this is the podcast for you. If you can sense that you're destined for more and you're curious about how drinking could be holding you back, listen in and come on this journey with us. Through the interplay of mind and body practices, we will help you elevate your daily life and discover the wonder and potential of going alcohol-free. Let's make life bigger together.
Righto, it's Tuesday. It's
hot.
I was going to say it's fun days. No, that doesn't work. I'll have to think of something better. But I'm glad that you're here. And
is that me or the listeners?
Well, the listeners. But I am also glad that you're here because it'd be a bit weird if you weren't.
Yeah, just you
It'd
chatting
just
to
be
yourself.
Present. It would just be present. There'd be no sober. So, so it's a good job that you're here. And before we get into proceedings, last chance. Women out there, sorry fellas, last chance for you women out there that want to join a little lovely small coaching group where you can be held over the autumn winter seasonal madness. We're going to have coaching every week from 1st of October to a little bit just after the new year, and we're going to be in a lovely little community together, embracing firsts, embracing the newness of your experience through the what's often known as the silly season. And we're going to be doing a lot of lovely, challenging, but lovely inner work. So if you feel called to join a little group and you're a woman and you've had some time alcohol-free and you'd like to stay that way, especially over this period, then give me a shout. Click the link, book a little call, and I'll have a chat, and you can make an application to join the group. Woohoo!
Just how pale I look in this current light setup. I look ghostly pale. Perhaps it's just me, but
it's you avoiding the sunshine again. I have once again got my legs out in this last bit of the sun that we're likely to get. Although who knows? It might be really hot for all of the fall, or the autumn. Who knows? God, but I'm actually getting a bit hot. So,
yeah, this room is heating up at a rate of knots because I'm testing it out. So yesterday I had the windows open, and I was like, wonder if it'd be better if I just close all the blinds and everything, keep the windows closed. Maybe that's going to help. I think it is a bit better, but I'm still very hot. Anyhow, it's not really even that hot, is it? Here we are moaning about like 30 degrees or something, and it's not even that warm. But
yeah. But we like to talk about the weather because we're British.
Is that what today's episode is? Are we going to talk about...
we're going to talk about the weather.
Do you know what 3 types of rock there are?
Oh, God. Sedimentary.
Well done.
Non-sedimentary.
Yeah, maybe that's one. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I even know. I'm just asking. I heard it might be 4. I just heard it on like a tannoy in a shop the other day. It's not the word, is it? Tannoy, but
what shop were you in?
Isn't porous is one of them as well, isn't it? Answers on a postcard, everybody.
What shop were you in?
What shop am I in?
Were you in?
It was on the radio. I can't even remember.
I thought it was on a
playing radio. They were playing like BBC Radio 2 or whatever, and there was a...
Oh, God, you don't listen to that tribe.
Don't they? And anyhow, it's not really about the weather. Tell people...
or sedimentary rock or porous rock. It's about... Well, Mr. Sam, 1st of October, is going to be celebrating 8 years alcohol-free. Whoa! And sometime in December, like the 27th or 28th, forget these days.
Yeah.
That'll be 4 years for me. And it struck me that it's like you suddenly start amassing huge periods of time. And it's like, whoa. Like, it is quite incredible. There was something, I think it was this show that I've been watching. And there was a scene where these 2 girls are out like having their girls' night out, and there were a bunch of shots that were being plied with a bunch of shots by the bartender and what have you. And I was just thinking, like, yeah, that just wouldn't work anymore, because like you're not going to get shots of non-alcohol, like a 0 proof. It just wouldn't make any sense. So I was just kind of contemplating, like, wow, like if I was in that situation right now, like what would I do? Because it just wouldn't. And I was trying to think of a good reason to join in. I was actually trying to think in my own head of like, because I could drink, like if I wanted to, I could go and down a bunch of shots. I was thinking like, what, like, why would I want to? And I literally could not think of one good reason. So it just dawned on me that like this expanse of time passes, and it's quite incredible what happens. And we are benefiting from having a wonderful listenership of people that have, some people will have amassed more than 8 years alcohol free. And then we've got people that are perhaps sober curious and just at the, the fringe of starting to look at this. So I thought that it would be a really lovely discussion to talk about like, what's the biggest thing that we've discovered this far down the road that we can share with others. So that's it. That's the questione.
It is a big question. Yeah, it's kind of funny, right? I think the journey is not really what we think it is. That's probably one of the biggest things that I've kind of seen, is that at the beginning, we kind of have these ideas about what we think we're up to and what we think we need to accomplish and how we're going to kind of become alcohol free or whatever. But the truth of the matter is, as it looks to me, it's not even a thing. Like in terms of, people talk about labels that they might have, some people, all sorts of different labels that we hear in this kind of like world. Some people use the word alcoholic. Some people say in recovery. We've got sober in the title of ours. Other people might say alcohol free. And like, if you were to ask a whole bunch of people which one of those seems the most neutral or less loaded and less kind of like story built around it and whatever, they might say, for example, alcohol free, right? But I don't go around telling everybody that I'm like carrot free, that I don't eat carrots. I do, by the way. But if I didn't, I wouldn't go and tell everybody that. And so it's not an ident, like, it is the falling away of a bunch of shit. It's not what we think it is. It's in the most beautiful way. It's much, much less than we think it is. You just get to be you, and you start to realize that you never needed it. No one does. There is no true benefit to it. And that, it looks to me, is a journey of because I know that there are a lot of people who have been alcohol free for many, many years, perhaps decades, who would vehemently disagree with me. They would say that no, you don't get it, man. There are, there is benefit and all that kind of stuff. But I think that comes from innocently not going on the bigger journey, which is what we talk about, being present to our experience, to our feelings, to what it is to be human, all that stuff. Like that looks to be the most important thing. But I don't know how it looks to you, mate.
Yeah, I think, we get to choose where we put our attention and focus. It's like one of the only things that we have, or the only thing that we have, where we place our attention. And you can place your attention on this as a journey of abstinence, in which case you're going to have one kind of experience. Or you can look on it as growth, whether you want to call it personal development, spiritual development, or something else, deep inner work. Like they're two very, very different things. There is not one part of me that is coveting how it used to be, that feels like I'm missing out on something. I've said before, you can gain tenure alcohol free or sober or whatever, but not feel free. And so I'm not bagging that as that's the wrong way to do it. There's only your own way to do it. But what was important to me when I embarked upon this, I had zero motivation around drinking less or abstaining. Like I tried that, it was fucking hard and it was miserable. I had no interest in that. What I had huge interest in was finding peace in my life, finding presence, finding equanimity. That's what I was interested in. And so my focus and my attention was very much there. And because of that, it was very like that was a heart-led intention, and it was very appealing. And so it wasn't about how many days can I not drink for. That's kind of like the byproduct of it, which is why I think, like, both for you and I, it's not like that we're going, oh, here's this big day that we celebrate once a year. It's just like, it's just kind of interesting that much time has passed. And within that, and I said this to you earlier on, like, the biggest thing that I've discovered is that it's this gentle or rude invitation to an awakening. And I love how, Laura McCann titled her book "We Are the Luckiest." Yeah, you are, because not everyone's going to get called to it. Not everybody's going to get the call. You've had the call. So, I had no clue what was ahead of me. No clue that I'm going to completely change career, and I'm going to be a coach, and I'm going to leave my marriage. Like, if somebody had told me all this stuff at the beginning, I thought they were fucking crackers. And so it's gradual. It's a gradual path, and that's not everybody's path, but it feels more. I feel more able to integrate that myself rather than becoming a blubbering wreck overnight. But that's what it is to me. It's this invitation to a type of awakening that may result in changes to your. Well, it will. There will be changes, but you're going to experience changes anyway. It's just that those changes come as a result of having a very deep connection with your true self and being guided moment to moment, day by day. So to me, it's wild, and it's the most beautiful thing available, because you can't see it, you can't try to orchestrate it. And as much as the brain wants to predict where you're going, you've got no idea. But it's just this wondrous surrender, this like, okay, I'm here for it, I'm here for all of it. And by the way, not all of it's going to feel fucking awesome. Some of it's going to feel fucking terrible. But as my teacher said, I was really pleased to hear this the other day. I was been in the pits of a bunch of stuff, a massive period of contraction. And I was listening to a replay of a call with one of my teachers, and he was talking about when we have moments of doubt, because what effectively I've been saying to myself is, what's the fucking point? What is the point? Almost like, that point of just want to end it all now. And by the way, I'm not taking that lightly, but I was literally getting to the point of, what is the point? Very, very deep level of doubt. And he said, when you have those moments, that is part of your practice. And if you're not having those moments, you are not practicing hard enough. So the part of me that likes to get a gold star was very pleased to hear that I'm doing a great job of being in contracted states. So yeah, it's not that this feels amazing all of the time. And we did that episode about the pink cloud. What the fuck's a pink cloud? Which talks to this some. So if you haven't listened to that, go back and have a listen. But I feel like I'm about to go off down a big tangent. We don't have to cast judgment about what something is. We have this obsession with categorizing things, sorting things out. We don't have to do that. You can just be open to your entire experience and find the wonder in it. And I don't think there's anything more important or relevant than that.
Therein lies the thing, being open to our experience. I mean, what I heard in what you were sharing, mate, was just being guided by wisdom, and people will have different conceptions of what that means, but it looks like living life from that space of the unknown very often, and trusting the unfolding and listening to the nudge that says, go this way, go that way. And that looks very different to running our life from our conditioning, of course. And of course we like dip in it, like, that's kind of the thing, isn't it? We kind of get wrapped up in who we think we are, and then we get guided by who we really are, and then we get and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's like a bit of a this way, that way thing. But to the biggest journey, and I'm kind of really aligned on this, I think, with different ways of putting it, is once we realize that the goal is not to control or manage our experience, then we're on a different path. And for most of us, that's what alcohol has been used for, particularly people who fall into, very kind of problematic or very heavy alcohol use. It is very often as a way of trying to avoid certain feelings, to control our experience, we become kind of like feeling junkies. We want to kind of be in a certain feeling all the time. And I've spoken about how I used to kind of try and curate my internal experience with an array of drugs and alcohol, like uppers, downers, trying to basically just always be in a certain space. And that, works, in air quotes, for as long as it works, but really it doesn't work, because we're not accessing the deep states of what we really want, like the avoidance of things that we're afraid of, and the numbing of stuff is very, very different to the experience of allowing those things in. And once we stop trying to control our experience, once we understand that it is safe for us to feel our feelings and our emotions and all those kinds of things. And like, we always caveat this, don't we? Because we're not, like, when we say all your experience is safe, it's like, if an actual tiger's coming at you, it's like, it's worth running away or doing your best to like get out the way, right? What we're talking about is the kind of psychological safety that most people innocently don't know. And we keep coming back to this. We come back to this again and again and again. And so that looks like the bigger journey, because for those people for whom I talk to, who are truly, as it seems to me, and I can sense in them, free from all of that stuff, all of the story that used to play out for them, it's not how long that they've stopped drinking or like behavior management or any of that stuff that is suggestive of that. The truth of it is how open they are to the human experience in all its beauty, and the spiritual experience, which are completely interwoven. And many of us, we go on that journey of, we stop drinking, and then we find ourselves with other kind of wonky relationships with some other stuff, and we're like, why is this going on? And in the end, we start to see what's really going on beneath it. And then we kind of get into the, oh God, like this isn't what I expected. And maybe this is going to be challenging. Maybe there's going to be some stuff to feel and all that, but we're built for that. Like, we're built for that. We're built for that. So that looks huge to me. It looks like, when I was saying at the beginning, the journey is not what we think it is. It looks like there's something much, much deeper. And at the beginning, for maybe the first kind of 6 months, years, couple of years, whatever's going on, even if we're in like a really kind of well thought out program that really understands how this works, there may be times where we're just kind of shedding old kind of bullshit, like where we're still trying to just kind of use willpower or grip onto it or all these, and that's okay. Like, that's completely okay. But there will come a time where you wake up in a world and you realize that all of the people that you were listening to that were inspiring you, they weren't spinning you a line. They were actually speaking from the heart. They were, like, I loved the other day, I was on a call, and I can't remember what, I was on a call with Jamie, and he said something along the lines of, I'd have to be a fucking nutcase to go back to drinking when I consider how beautiful my life is now. And it gets to that point, it's just, and I'd love people to know that. I'd love to be I think hope is a really beautiful thing. And sometimes trusting, if maybe the only thing that sometimes we have on some days or in some moments is listening to that podcast or reading that thing that we know is true, even though our conscious mind is constantly calling bullshit on it, but you know somewhere that you're like, no, there's something here. And that will just grow to the point where it just completely fills everything. And then there's not even a question or a doubt or any of that kind of stuff. You just know that you're in the right place, a beautiful place for you.
Yeah. And that's why you have to become attuned to how you receive guidance, because without that intention, your mind's going to just keep trying to figure things out and try to problem solve and try to fix. And I'll hear from people a lot, like, oh, well, I've listened to all of the replays, watched all the videos. I love it when people come onto calls and go, right, this is a situation. Can you give me the tool that I need to take into the situation? I said to somebody on a call the other day, well, I could, but it won't work. They looked at me like, what the fuck am I paying all this money for? And so then ensued a conversation around like me explaining why, that it's not how it works. You don't fill a toolkit with stuff and then carry it around with you for the rest of your life. I'm not dismissing that there are practices and modalities and things that are helpful for sure. All the while that you're in a skin suit, there are going to be things that are helpful because you've got a nervous system and you've got senses. But that's not, there was this example of, it's like a particular, social situation with family, one of those firsts. Like the thing in the toolkit isn't going to get you through. The thing that's going to get you through is you. And the more attuned you are to yourself, capital S self, the closer that you are connected there, the more that you can strip away the ordinary mind stuff, then you've got everything you need. You've got everything you need. You don't need to, like, there aren't gaps to fill. So, and I understand where this kind of thing comes from, particularly, given the places that we frequent in sober community and in the programs that we coach in. There's been a lot made over the years around having your toolkit and this, that, and the other. I'm not saying that that's entirely redundant, but I'm saying that that's not the way. Ultimately, that's not the way. And the other thing that I really want people to know is that, as I said earlier, there's not like one way to do this. There's only your way to do it. And there's also not a timeline. There's only your timeline. So you have your own distinct set of patterns, karmic tendencies. You've been through however many lifetimes you've been through before this one. Nobody's got that track record, only you. So when we try to have ourselves fit in with some kind of arbitrary imagined timeline, it's no wonder it feels clunky and difficult and restrictive, because that doesn't fit for us. It's made up. So yes, it's great to look ahead and to ask, what are the things that I have to look forward to, and there are times on my spiritual path that I've kind of wanted to gauge, like, well, where am I in the whole thing? Like, am I at the beginning? Am I somewhere in the middle? Am I actually moving forwards? But it's you realize that that's all fucking nonsense. It's all made up. You know if you are heading in the right direction, because that's actually the only way that you can head. It just might not fit the construct of what it's supposed to, in inverted commas, look like. But you keep going. You keep going. And that's where, hope and faith and all of those beautiful things come into play.
I think most of the questions that we might sit and, those kinds of questions of where are you and all that kind of stuff. It's like at the end, you're like, who gives a shit? Like, that's not it. And it strikes me as you shared that, mate, that tools, here's the thing about tools, is if you're looking at a building and you're like, I don't like that, and you want to just kind of fix it up, tools are absolutely amazing. Like, if you get everything out and you can replaster and do all that shit. Like, they're brilliant for that. But what they ain't ever going to do is take you back to the position of the architect and allow you to create something new. Now, once the insight's been had, once you've seen for yourself, I really want to bring that into being. That's what I'd love to have happen. That's what I want to create in my life. Then it may, of course, tools may fit into that picture beautifully. But if we're trying to re-architecture our life with tools, it's an unwinnable game. Like, we just go around in circles all the time. We keep saying, well, why do I just keep going around in circles and doing the same thing? It's because, well, we haven't had the insight that's going to make the true difference. Like, if I'd have like swung in like your fairy godfather at that moment when, you were being called on at the grief for your dad, and I'd have been like, hey, here's some nice tools for you. Like, at that moment, like that ain't going to cut it. Like, that's not how it goes. Unless it was like at the end of it, unless you were kind of unless it's in this sense, you realize in yourself, oh fuck, like, it's like, this is time. Do you know, I think I am going to go, get in some water and look at the stars or whatever. Like, it looks like the tools follow the insights from the heart of your being and the wisdom. Mm-hmm. I don't know if what I'm saying is making any sense, but if the only thing you're packing is a toolkit, you're effectively in the management game. You're not in the recreation game, and that's a completely different thing.
Yeah, I like the way you put that. I like the analogy. I knew we were partnered for a reason.
Partner? Who do you reckon, if we had to build a house, who'd do what? I reckon, would you be the gaffer? What do you reckon?
I'd be the gaffer. I'd probably design it.
I think, I don't know. I think we'd both have a go at the design. Maybe, I don't know what we'd have to do. But yeah, it'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
It's funny, a present wing and a sober wing.
Yeah, I don't know if so for people that are new to the podcast, if anybody doesn't know, the name for this podcast is basically just, we had both had our kind of independent things. Ellie's Pump Up the Present, mine Sober Rebellion, and we just stuck them together as present and sober, and it was like, wow, look at that, that's amazing. So that's when Ellie's referring to me as that, and or vice versa, that's where this coming from. I realized that there might be a bunch of people listening that might be like, well, how did that come about? And I don't know if we finished wrapping up talking about this, but I think that was probably a nice place to maybe kind of, I don't know, just have a bit of a share at the end. You can let me know if anything else appears. I want to give a shout out to anybody who just listening to the podcast who actually has never drunk or does still drink a bit or whatever, right? And they're loving the content, because a lot of people say to me, oh, my mate now listens to you, even though she drinks or whatever, whatever it might be. And I think that that's cool because, at the front door, a lot of people might think that the only thing that we're talking about is like how to stop drinking, for example, right? But that ain't what it's about. Like, that's very often the invitation that brings people to the party, because people might be looking for that. But ultimately, the bigger invitation we want to make is into this other way of going on the journey. And yeah, I think that's really cool. I meant to say that to you, and more and more people.
I love it. I love it. It's also an invitation to learn how to start swearing. I've had a lot of people reach out to say that they just like the swearing.
We must put some people off.
Come along for the potty mouth.
It must be a bit of
the nonsense, the irreverent nonsense. So there's something for everyone.
I've never in my life spoken any kind of irreverent nonsense, whatever that is. I wish I did have some irreverent nonsense for this moment in time. That would be awesome. I don't have any amazing facts or anything. Nothing's coming to me.
I've just got one little moment to revisit of the days of yore, which wasn't that long ago, where it was my all-time favorite episode, where you were talking about us going off on a tangent and talking about blah 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 blah, and I can't remember exactly how you said it, but it was in effect like, planning for this, but well, if we just go off on one and start talking a bunch of nonsense, then we'll just release it like we always do. and at that point I was lost for I think about a record of about 4 minutes. I could not bring myself back.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
that's what you're all consuming. So good for you. Thanks for being here. don't forget to leave us a review and share it with a friend who likes to swim.
Yeah, maybe you've got, because I think we're entering into a new world now of people who really may, I don't know, perhaps they're not on a journey of becoming alcohol free at all or whatever, but they're really open to a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here. And it may be worth, if you've got someone who you think would get something from it, that would be ace. And that really helps spread the present and sober love at the end of the day.
I love that. They would be very, very, very welcome because we have a wonderful community on Facebook. I know we've been a little quiet over the summer because we've been busy summering, but there's stuff coming up, and it doesn't matter where you're at or what your intentions are with alcohol at all. Yeah. And I think one of the things that makes our community really different is that I think we've only ever kicked one person out for being a dick. So you've got people that are really like just leveled in like we're all in this together. We're all doing some really fucking interesting stuff, and we're all doing it together. So it doesn't matter what your background is or what your intention is or your intention matters to a degree. Don't be a dick, but that's going to make really interesting dialogue and conversation and questions for the podcast, having people that are at really different places. So I'm all for it.
Me too. The more the merrier. Right. Awesome.
Bravo. Right.
Nice place for us to put a pause.
Yep. Have a nice week. Be good.
That sounded so like, I don't know, so like you were, I was going to say something and I'm not going to say it. But that was just the way you said that was quite funny. You are.
Tell me after. See you next Tuesday.
In a bit. Classic.